episode of Ignite Your Power at the Kathy Mao podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have a guest speaker, and her name is Ashley Chamberlain. She's a founder of Chamberlain and Good Company, which is focused on bookkeeping and accounting. She empowers women and volunteers at shelters and teaches financial literacy to women and has an all female team. And she's just so empowering and amazing. And I'm just so excited to have her here today to share her knowledge. So, hi, Ashley, if you want to say hey to everybody.
Hello, so excited.
Yes. So today's episode, we're going to talk about, how to empower women through financial literacy. It's such an important topic, and I feel like a lot of women need to know this. And so Ashley is an expert on this. And I was like, dude, I need you on my podcast to share this. I haven't shared this type of information yet in an episode. So today, here we are. So, can you share a bit about your journey and how did your passion for financial literacy develop and lead to the creation of Chamberlain and Good Company?
Oh, I'd love to. I'm pumped to be here, especially to share such what I think is the most important message. My journey was incredibly messy. Nothing went as planned. And I think that's important to start by saying because I hear so many people say, I had a plan. Like, why didn't it work out? So sometimes a messy non-plan is the way that things just work out. And so I always start by saying I had a really beautiful upbringing. I had good parents. They divorced a long time ago, but separately, both very loving, provided a very stable foundation. I found myself as a young 20-something-year-old in a really bad relationship. And it turned into this complete isolation financially, emotionally, all of the ways. And I realized I was a 20-something-year-old person and I knew absolutely nothing about finances. And mind you, I had been to college. I knew the things, but I found myself in this situation where I felt helpless. I didn't know how to open a bank account. I didn't even understand what credit really meant, how important your finances are, how to get started. And so, fast forward a few years, I left the relationship and basically started all the way over. It's interesting that we're recording on this day because just a few days ago, I finally donated my first living room set that I bought when I moved into that new apartment by myself with my young one. I had a 2-year-old at the time. And I never forget. I went to this very small furniture shop. I spent $600 and I had to finance $600 at that time. And it was the smallest couch and love seat set. And I was so excited to be able to buy something on my own. And I still financed it, which shows like I clearly did not have my life together yet, but that's okay. But just a few days ago, we finally donated that. So fast forward a few years, I'm on my own, I'm learning. I went back to college and got another degree because I thought if you have a lot of degrees, you're obviously very smart. But really, it was making a lot of mistakes. So I worked my way up through the accounting department at several different companies, found myself in a position, kind of a top tier position at somewhat of a young age. And I thought, well, now what am I going to do? And I was at the healing stage where I wanted to give back. I had gone through some therapy. I had healed from that relationship in a lot of ways and wanted to give back. So that's where I started reaching out to women's shelters and saying, how can I help? And they said, what are you good at? And at that point, I don't know why. Maybe it's the nerd part. I said, well, I'm good at math. So that's how I found myself giving back is talking to women that were in a situation I was years and years ago and uplifting them in ways that maybe they didn't really know how. They didn't see a light. So I started doing that. To this day, they still teach those financial literacy classes. They use my program. We update it annually. It's really beautiful. So going back to the position, I said, what's next? Started volunteering and then I started my company. And intentionally thought, how am I going to build this legacy that I feel, number one, represents me, but number two, will still represent me when I am not actively running it. So that's where the all-female team came in. They're all powerhouses. They're all moms. And we run a very beautiful virtual accounting company now.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I love your story. It's so empowering because you literally, came from nothing and you shared
Mhm.
that story so openly. And out of all your hardships, you're still helping other people. Like that is so beautiful. And thank you for bringing that bright light. And what gave me goosebumps was saying that, we were supposed to actually record this like a month ago, but then it just kept getting postponed. But you shared the story of how literally 3 days ago or a couple days ago, it was, your couch that you finally donated. Like
Yeah.
the synchronicity of all timing, right? Divine timing. It's so beautiful that we're
It
here
really is.
and that
Yes. I love that. And it's so true because, when we had tried to record, life gets in the way. And then a few days ago, I'm like thinking about this couch, and this couch it's not in great shape. It's been with me for more than 10 years now. I have three little fur babies, so they have taken over that couch. And I got a little teary-eyed because when we were donating it, I kept thinking of the Ashley that bought that couch and how grateful I was to have my own couch and love seat set at that time. And I got teary-eyed because I kept thinking, I hope that I can hold on to that gratitude now for the different things, the different season of life that I'm in, the same way that I had for that couch purchase. Because as you grow, as you maybe you're making more money, maybe you found a different partner and everything's kind of going well. It's the takeaways are, the solid feelings of gratitude, hard work ethic. There are certain things you just want to maintain just in a different season. And so I did get a little teary-eyed for the kind of stinky rundown couch. I thought, this guy's been with me for a long time, and I hope that I'm still the same grateful person now as I was back then.
Yeah, and you are. And it's so beautiful how you can look at these little reminders and know that, oh my gosh, I've grown so much, but you're still the same sweet, kind person who's grateful.
Yeah,
And you even acknowledging that you're grateful for that memory and that time shows that you are obviously in a gratitude state. And
yeah,
yes, thank you for pointing that out. Gratitude is such a great tool. Like we have to remember no matter what season in life we are in, we always have to go back to the basics of just being grateful for like where we've come from. And I feel like
right,
every time we keep growing, right? Like we always want more and more and more. We're looking in the future, but be in the
yeah,
present, like be in the moment of gratitude state of like, whoa, where have I come from? And like, look
right.
at all the stuff that I have now instead of what I do not have, right?
Right, right, right. It's very
Yeah,
hard to balance.
it
I
is.
think I feel very fortunate to have the partner that I do because I'm a big picture kind of person. I'm a vision person. So I'm very goal oriented. I do have to have those kind of moments with myself intentionally to remind myself of look where you are. And I'm fortunate for my my partner is so what's right in front of him. And so he very much humbles me and says, yes, those plans next year sound so fun. Like, yes, it sounds great for this trick-or-treating thing we're gonna do. We've been planning this trick-or-treating costume for over a month now. But he definitely brings me back to planet Earth today and says things like, but just look around you. And so he's the one that reminds me, go put your feet in the grass. Like go remember where you were and where we are now, and just feel this moment because it changes every day. There's always more things to buy, there's always more jobs to get, always more money to be made. But sometimes, and I don't know if a lot of your listeners feel this way, I imagine they do, it's easy to get caught up in future plans, but it's so much harder to live in present, and it's an intentional act sometimes.
Whoa, it's so wild how we're talking about this topic because lately I've been working with my own spiritual empowerment coach and I'm learning how to be in the present. And I was like, "Oh, I've been being in the present moment." She was like, "No, you have not been. You keep looking in the future." And I was like, "Really?" And she pointed out, I was like, "That is so true, right? Sometimes you really don't know that you're thinking a certain way or however you're perceiving life, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was laughing at myself because I was like, wow, I am not in the present moment. But it's so wild that you're saying this and it's bringing this to me to show that this is so important that a lot of us are never in the present moment.
yeah,
Honestly, we're always
yeah.
thinking, we're always chasing for the next thing. And I'm
Right.
trying to learn to be in the present moment and appreciate my daughter, which I had infertility with her, and just
Um,
to be present. And then
yeah.
last two, I just had a miscarriage, and I was just like thinking, why is everything not working out the way I want to? But it's because my coach was saying I keep looking for problems and chasing the problem,
Mm,
things that I don't
yep.
have, and most of us do. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that your husband grounds you, and that is such a blessing. Like that is so
yeah.
beautiful. How,
Yes, and it's I think too with what you just said gave me little truth bumps is as moms, and maybe not even as moms, but that's what I can speak to. As a mom, a wife, a business owner, I just instinctually am trying to plan the next thing. And it's not always like, how can I make more money? That's like a very small part. The biggest part is, have my kids been to the dentist like they should? What about Thanksgiving? Where are we going for Thanksgiving? We need to make all the plans for Thanksgiving. And all right, let me start making my to-do list for Christmas. I'm going to do the decorations and make my gift list. And I think social media pressure encourages this behavior. It doesn't discourage. It encourages this behavior by showing you ads for Christmas presents right now. It encourages, your uh, the way that you're thinking about things by saying, look at this planner. This planner is new and it has 5,000 pages for all the things you can plan. And so we're encouraged to constantly think ahead and by necessity, but sometimes not. And it's that act alone, I've realized takes me out of the present when I'm sitting there with my beautiful family at dinner, eating the meal that I very routinely I planned out the week before. I can check my box. And instead of sitting at dinner with my family and thinking, wow, like I really am so blessed. My family is healthy and we're enjoying this meal. I'm thinking, okay, check. That meal was cooked. What's next? And so it's humbling. I think as kids get older, time kind of hits you in the face a little harder, but it is something that I think we all need to intentionally work on is we don't always have to be 5 steps ahead. It's okay to take a moment and feel whatever comes up. Sometimes it's not always beautiful. Sometimes it's not this intense gratitude that the sun just like bursts from my chest and I become like a rainbow. Sometimes it's, a reality of where am I at right now? How am I feeling? Let me do a little check in with myself. Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling discouraged? And really just doing that wellness checkup with yourself. Because as moms, we don't check in on ourselves. We
yeah,
don't do that. We worry about everybody else. And you really need people in your community like this podcast, like your community
yeah.
telling you it's okay. It's not selfish. It's called self-care. It's not selfish. So it's constantly just trying to find people that will support that is
Yeah.
the
So true. Thank you for sharing that because honestly, having that support and having more people to show examples of what self-love and self-care looks like is going to help you because it is true, right? Like you were saying that you were scrolling and you're influenced by having the pressure of already planning for Christmas. Like it's
yeah,
already 2 months out. Like that's wild. I
yeah.
am like you. I always have to do the checklist. Like, have I done this? Have I done
Mhm.
this? And
Yeah,
then once I do it, I'm like, okay, what's next? But then I'm not even enjoying the present with my daughter and my husband.
right.
My brain's always thinking. So being in the
Yeah,
present moment is just a beautiful, beautiful practice that we all should do as
yeah.
moms, or just even if you're not a mom, you
Just
should
for
be.
people.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's wild that we're already planning for Christmas too. Our society makes us want to buy things.
yep.
And I know people have a lot of stress during the holidays because we're already spending a lot of money. We're spending money on gifts, etc. You
Yeah,
know?
it is. It's a lot of money out.
Yeah, why is financial literacy so crucial for entrepreneurs or people or small businesses? especially women, and why is that more at like women at risk for financial literacy?
Yeah, and so I'll start with why I think it's so important for women specifically to have some sort of financial literacy. Um, I always use myself as the example because everyone's story is a little different. You can have the most perfect upbringing, or you can have a crap upbringing. You could be white, you could be black, you could be Asian, you could be all the things. Abuse, financial abuse does not care about any of those things. It can happen to anyone with any kind of background. And that's why I try to talk about it in a very plain, transparent way. If you don't feel like you know how to open a bank account, or you don't know how to manage money, or you don't know how to save consistently for something, you need some financial literacy. It's something, a foundation that everyone needs to have because you never know what's going to happen. And it doesn't have to just be financial abuse. It can be you lose a partner, your partner loses his job, and now it's all kind of on you to like make that dough. And so many different situations have put people, couples, singles in this place where they realize I have no idea where to go, and they get analysis paralysis, and so they do nothing. And then they come to their accountant, they go to someone in the financial field and say, I need the steps of how to get started. Most of the time, it's because they received a notice in the mail. They are scared that I always hear, I don't want to go to jail when they owe taxes, which, that's a whole other rabbit hole I can go down. But having some sort of foundation puts you one step ahead for the what ifs. And so when it comes to financial literacy for entrepreneurs, for working people, I think I'm always a big advocate for outsourcing and automating because no one is born knowing how to run a business. That is the biggest misconception I think we all have, that if you don't know what you're doing, you feel like you're behind. But the power is hiring, outsourcing some of those things to lift you up. And so we'll take someone that's running a podcast. If this is their business, you didn't know how to run a business when you started a podcast. You're good at conversations. You're good at networking and communicating. Maybe accounting or financial literacy is maybe not your strong suit. So that's where I say surround yourself with people that have maybe some alignment situations with where you want to go. Always surround yourself with someone that you admire, because I've found if you surround yourself with people that are on the same level as you or below, you're not going to get lifted up. You're not going to feel inspired, and you'll stay where you're at. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you want to keep it moving. So surround yourself with people that are maybe just a little further in some ways, people you look up to, people you trust. And that's where outsourcing and automating can come in. So it can be as simple as I have $50 put into a savings account every single week, and it's automated. I don't have to manually put anything in. I don't have to feel stressed that I'm doing this thing and I don't know if it's a good thing. Set yourself up. If you know you want to save an amount for a year, set it up, forget about it. When it comes to outsourcing, that's where the relationship that you have with your accountant, and I know this is going to sound crazy, is so special. It should feel like they are one of the closest people in your network because they're the ones strategizing on your behalf. So I have a lot of clients that come to me and say, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. I don't know how to do it. I don't really want to be involved in every single step. What do you think I should do? And so those strategy sessions, we knock it out, and they don't have to think about it because they trust we've got them. If something changes, we'll catch it and we'll know, and we just move forward. And it's a beautiful thing because they didn't start their businesses to be accountants. They started it to be the landscaper. They started it to be the artist, and that's what they're good at. So we just say, hey, stay in your lane and we'll go over here, make sure that you're going to be good. So definitely find an accountant that you can like, know, and trust, because that's so special when it comes to owning a business.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That is so powerful. You gave a lot of tidbits of like why we need an accountant and what type of accountant we should meet or have in our team. And it is true though. You have to really trust that person. And I never even thought about it or even think of having an accountant on your team, but it is helpful.
Right.
It's useful. So it's like you don't have to handle every piece if that's not what you like.
Right, right. You can pick and
Ah,
choose. We meet people of all stages, people that have the idea and they want to start the business, but they don't know where to start, all the way to I have a medium-sized business with 50 employees and I'm making, over $10 million, but I need help because I've been doing this myself. So, we kind of just try to meet people where they are. If you are not, your business is this little seed and it's not ready to bring on another team member, that's when you think, I need to outsource some of this. And how can I have them help in a way that feels good, at a price that I feel like my baby seed business can afford? And that's where we kind of meet people. We're not in the business of selling packages people don't need.
mhm.
We're going to take a look at everything and say, you're not ready for this. Let's go here, and then we'll reevaluate.
I love that. Your company is really based on helping others, honestly,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah.
That. How do you think understanding finances can help someone feel more in control and confident in their business and personal life?
I think when it comes to decision making, and maybe this is the nerd part, I can't make any kind of financial decision unless I know exactly how much money I'm working with. So knowing your what's called the bottom line. So this is going to be your gross profit, the income that you're receiving, all the money is coming in, and then you're going to subtract all of your expenses. You're going to subtract your utilities, you're going to subtract if you're renting a space, all those expenses, and then what's left. So what's left is that bottom line. That's your net profit. That number is telling you what you have to work with. If you don't keep up with the ins and the outs, your income and expenses that happen daily, monthly, however often they're coming in, you don't exactly know what you're working with. So personally, I have a couple of different bank accounts. So I make it way more complicated. So take this with a grain of salt if you're just not there. It really is just making things complicated can be a part of my personality trait. So I have several accounts for different things. We have our operating account, we have our tax savings account, I have different buckets. So when I go to look at that bottom line and I say, we want to put our kiddo at this really expensive school, I know exactly what our bottom line is to be able to make an informed decision. And it's the same in business. So if we feel like, wow, we're really bringing on more clients and we need to hire someone, my CFO and I can sit down, look at our statements, and see what's actually there to work with. We're not looking at, our big number, our sales number. I mean, it can be a great number, but if we only went off that number, we're not taking into account all the expenses that come in and we're going to be in trouble. And so my CFO and I, we do cash forecasting, which basically says, this is what we made in 3 months. Let's forecast. Let's see what 3 months from now will look like if we hired someone. So her and I strategize a lot to make those informed decisions. And if you don't have those statements, those numbers, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants, hoping, wishing, praying that everything's going to work out. While I believe there's a place for that, when it comes to finances, you really just want to try and understand what you have to work with before making those decisions.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It is true.
Yeah.
It's so true that a lot of us don't even know how much we make or really have that baseline amount because you're just like getting your paycheck and you're like, okay, I can spend again. And then, it's just like a
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
You don't actually sit down and think about it. And I love how you said get the 3 month forecast and like actually plan too.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. So, what
Yeah.
are some common financial mistakes or misconceptions you see small business owners or just people make, and how can they overcome them?
That's tricky. And, I thought a lot about this before we spoke. What are the common ones? Because everyone is just a little different. Some of the biggest, I'll say misconceptions, maybe myths out there is that when people want to hire someone like me. They think that they have to be so far ahead in business. So the statement that we get, my CFO wrote it down because she's like, don't forget people say this, um, is you've probably never seen this before. We get that statement every time we talk to someone new. You've probably never seen this before. And we can see there's so much shame and embarrassment that probably kept them from reaching out to someone like us for a long time. So the myth is that everyone's got it together, that everyone that owns a business is good with money, that they understand their accounting, and they're really reaching out to us just because they feel like this is what they're supposed to do. That's such a myth. Business owners, when you start, we're all a mess. Like we're all just, hoping and praying and winging it in the beginning. You'll know you need someone like us when you start to feel like a lot of your valuable time is spent doing things you're not good at and that you dread. There's no reason to play the guessing game when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting when you have people like us that will meet you where you're at. So when I say myth, mistake, it's if you have this feeling that you're doing something wrong as far as accounting, taxes, that you dread going in and putting those invoices, that you just make the biggest sigh when someone says you need to reconcile your accounts and you think, oh my goodness, there goes my Saturday. You're probably ready to start talking to someone like us. So that's the big one is you've probably never heard this before. We've heard almost, I'm going to say we've heard almost all of the things that you're about to tell us, and it doesn't shock us.
Yeah.
Another big mistake I see new business owners making is overcomplicating their finances. So, profit first is the first one that comes to mind. It is this system that you have multiple accounts, multiple buckets that you move money from account to account based on the needs. I believe there are 5 buckets that you have with this profit first. While I think it works for some, in the beginning, I always tell a new business owner, keep it simple. There's no need to make it more complicated. You don't have to have a fancy software. If you're not there, don't make it harder on yourself. Most new business owners can get away with just a simple spreadsheet. You don't
Yeah.
have to have QuickBooks yet. Have a spreadsheet, track your income, track your expenses, and you'll know based on working with an accountant or getting busier when you're ready to start paying for a new platform. Because in the beginning, you want to keep it very simple and very inexpensive. So those are really like the biggest mistakes. People want to spend a lot of money on platforms, so software, CRMs, let's see, payment platforms, because there are a million. They want to have the fancy business cards, they want to have the fancy website. I have to have t-shirts that have my company name before I can start a company, and that costs $500. And just calm it down,
Yeah.
start the business, start making some money, and then we'll go for the swag once you can sustain it. So that's another. It gets a little wild with the expenses.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true because
Hmm.
in your mind, you think you need all these things in order to be successful, but you just
Yeah.
have to focus on what your business actually is.
Yeah.
Things will
Like,
be,
why did you start it? Did you start it because you wanted fancy business cards? No, I'm sure that first client does not give a flip if you have a fancy business card. Mine didn't. When I was asked, "Do you have business cards?" I I remember I had a sticky note pad, and I was like, "No, but they're in the mail." And I just gave them my info on a sticky note because I thought I'm not ordering business cards until I actually start making money. So it
yeah.
can work. It's just your approach to it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so true. And those are such great tips. Thank you for sharing that because a lot of us do get caught up with all these misconceptions and thinking that we need to be further along than we really should be and just focusing on the
Mhm.
basics and simple things, just like getting a
Yeah.
spreadsheet and
Yeah.
just doing that. You don't need to be ahead of it. Just, what earnings
Right.
do you have and how much are you actually spending? That's it. Just pretty much
Right.
basics. So thank you
Keep it
for running.
simple.
Yeah, so for
Mhm.
someone just starting their financial journey, what are the first steps they should take to improve their financial literacy?
Well, I think when you're starting out, it's depending on if you're starting out personally or in business, but we'll say personal because sometimes people relate to that more, even if they have a business. When you're starting out with your personal life, it's a mental thing. It's a mindset shift you have to have that says, I don't need to have shame. I don't need to have embarrassment. I'm just looking at numbers. The numbers don't control me. And you look at your income, how much are you bringing home after taxes? Maybe it's after health insurance or whatever deductions you get taken out. What's that money that goes into your account every single week or every other week or whatever? When you have that number, look at your statements, your bank statements, your credit card statements. Where's your money going? And that's where I really like people, and maybe I'm the only one that gets enjoyment out of something like this, to take a look at everything. Don't just look at one account. This is where my check goes, but not my husband's. This is where my spending is, but not my girlfriend. Take a look at the big picture because it says a lot about your habits, your lifestyle, and what's important to you. So for me, when I was first embarking on this journey, it was truly humbling because I realized a lot of my money, my expenses are in entertainment. Not like fancy entertainment, but like I love taking my kids to the movies. I am a movie person. I want to take a blanket. I have a whole movie bag. Like I have a big old bag. Everyone puts a blanket inside. I have special movie slippers. So I have slide-ons because when I get into the theater, I'm going to sit back in that recliner and put my feet up, and I don't want shoes on my feet. Comfort to a different level. So when we get to the movies, you have to get popcorn. So I knew, all right, I'm spending about $40 on movie tickets, and then I'm going to get popcorn. But even if I'm not hungry, I love that movie theater popcorn. The smell, just the butter on it's chef's kiss, does not beat anything. So I'm
Yeah.
going to get popcorn. That's like $10. All right, so I'm up to 50. I could go to the dollar. So I had an idea. Most of my money for the movies is going to spend this much. That helps me plan because I'm not going to stop going to the movies
Yeah.
unless people stop putting movies out.
Mhm.
So I knew that was important to me. I could look at my finances, I could see movies. We are a very busy family, so we like to go out. We like to go out to eat. We like to go, we get ice cream. We like to go to festivals. I knew entertainment was going to be my biggest expense, but I had no idea what that number looked like. I just knew if I had money in my account, let's go to the movies. So, really taking that moment to isolate that number now helps me realize every single month, this is how much I am on average going to spend on entertainment. So, it really helps me still be able to enjoy those things and not feel guilty about it. Because in my mind, I'm like, I already planned this. I already knew this was going to happen. I mean, did I know they were going to put Beetlejuice out? No, but I knew I was going to go to a movie. And
Yeah.
here we are. So it's really planning for those simple things that
Yeah.
you enjoy in your day-to-day life and not feeling like it's an all or nothing approach. If you're really trying to get a hold of your finances and you're in a place where you feel like I need to save for a house, okay, then let's talk about cutting. But if you're trying to maintain and you're trying to meet yourself where you're at in this season, find what that number is and start planning for it so your guilt will start going away. It's really funny how when you plan for something, it happens the way you expected, like Beetlejuice, I will say. I had my entertainment and I said, well, I already planned for this.
Yeah.
Going to that movie was so much more enjoyable because I had already planned to do it.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true. That's such a great tip because we don't plan ahead. And then you get stressed out and you get overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I feel guilty that I'm spending all this money. But if you already planned to already spend that money on the things that you truly love and that
Mhm.
brings joy, you can be more in the present moment as well. So it all kind of like works out in a circle.
Yeah, it all kind of circles back. And especially with holidays coming up, with us, we have family kind of all over the country. And so instead of feeling kind of anxious or guilty because we spend more money around those holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas specifically, I've been able to go back and say, well, we go to the same place for Thanksgiving every year. We go to Alabama. What do we spend when we go there? What do we spend it on? So in my mind, I now have a number to work with, and I can say, you know, we're earning a little more money, so now we can spend more. Or I can say, last year was crazy and that was a little out of control, so let's bring it in. But I have that number. I can't really do anything unless I know what I spent. So that's why it's just so important to be self-aware of what you're doing, what you kind of prioritize, because people have a lot of shame if they put all their money towards something and someone else doesn't. So if you have that friend that says, "Oh, I would never spend $100 at the movie theater," there's something in your mind that thinks, what's wrong with me? Why do I spend that much?
Yeah.
If you already planned it, you think, no, girlfriend, this is where my priorities are. Like, you go and buy that $100 purse. We're gonna go spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the movie theater together, and I'm much happier doing that. So just self-awareness really plays a role for yourself, but the people around you really don't have the same kind of effect. So something to think about.
Oh, that's a really good tip. Self-awareness is a huge thing because we
Mhm.
all find entertainment or different things that we truly believe that is worthwhile for
Yeah.
us and that brings us joy, and we're all different. So, like you
Hmm.
said, I rather do entertaining things with my family, going out to eat. I especially spend a lot of my money on going out to eat with my
Hmm.
husband and my daughter. That's
Yeah.
something I enjoy, but I don't care for shopping. I truly do
Right.
not care. I do not buy new clothes or the newest purse,
Hmm.
etc. I don't care about shopping at all. And so
Yeah.
that's how I'm self-aware, and I spend most of my money on eating out and putting
Yeah.
all my finances in that section and then not worrying about spending on,
Yeah.
buying these materialistic things. So I
Very
love
different.
self-awareness is a big, huge part of that. I
Yeah.
have a question though for you. Is taxes part of financial literacy that every person should know, or like even just basics of taxes and how that type of, I guess that works? Because
Yeah.
yes, we take in all the money, but like you said, we all have to pay taxes. But then I feel like a lot of our people, like just people in general, are just not even aware of how taxes work. You just know that you
Yeah.
pay it, right? Property tax, your own taxes, business tax, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
you're paying taxes all the time, buying all these things all the time. It really
Yeah.
does affect us. But I
Yes.
think a lot of us even are aware of how taxes truly affect us.
And taxes is, no, I'm glad you brought that up because taxes is such a, I'm gonna call it this like magical, mystical subject.
Yeah.
And it's very intricate and it's very complex. And that's why most people that are filing taxes aren't Joe Schmo off the street. They are people that are experts and keep up with code. Taxes are constantly changing, and we're expected as I'm going to call civilians to be able to keep up with it too. And it really is not necessary. I say know just enough information to keep your head above water. You don't get in trouble. And if you're the kind of person that is either I know everything or I know nothing, like it's all or nothing for me, I don't go middle of the road, that's a waste of time, then you need to find an accountant that you trust because there's no reason for you to understand every single tax code. When it comes to sales tax, as a consumer, just look at your receipt and see what you're paying. And that's as much as you need to know. That when you go to buy the things at the grocery store, know your state, know your sales tax. And if you want to know exactly how much you're going to spend, that's as much as you need to know on sales tax. If you're a business owner that is selling services that are taxable and you don't have an accountant, again, know your rate and make sure you're tracking those taxable sales and taking those sales tax amounts, shouldn't say taking, collecting the sales tax from your customers. But that's as simple as it is. There are so many apps, so many automated, streamlined ways if you're a very small business owner
Yeah.
for your sales tax to be taken care of. So I take the Cricut machine person that started it as a hobby. Now they have an Etsy shop or now they're on Shopify and they're actually starting to make like some kind of money, and they're scared because they're like, well, if you make money, that means tax it. And that means something with taxes. If you're on Etsy, Etsy files for you. Etsy takes that out of your account for you. You just have to set it up. If you have Square and you start allowing people to pay with a credit card that way, look into Square and see if they will file for you. That's the cheapest and easiest way when you're getting started out. Now, when you get a little bigger and you want more strategy than just sales tax, again, a good relationship with your accountant helps when it comes to filing your taxes, knowing how much to pay. There there are formulas. Everyone's a little different based on your income, but I say 22 to 25% if you're a business owner is what you can expect to pay as a self-employed person. So a business owner, depending on your entity, let's say you are a sole proprietor or an LLC, 22 to 25% is what you're going to pay. If you don't save that monthly, quarterly, you're gonna have a tax bill when April comes around. If you are a W-2, so you are working for someone else, you are trusting your HR department to set up those codes correctly. I'm always going to recommend that you do a zero exemption. So when you fill out that W-4 and it says, are you single? Are you married? Filing joint? It gives you all these options.
Mhm.
Choose what suits you. But I'm always going to recommend filing zero because you want them, Big Daddy in the sky, Big Daddy IRS, to take as much as they feel they need and not have to square up with them after. So that's
Mhm.
something small that I get people all the time like, shouldn't I be claiming like 9 exemptions or deductions? And I'm like, do you have 9 kids? Like, it's very unheard of. And even if you do, I'm still going to tell you, mark it zero, get the taxes taken out. They have their formula. If you overpay, you'll get a refund. And that's a much better feeling than getting a tax bill and then coming up with that money. So it really just depends on where you're at. If you're, a W-2 employee, if you're a business owner, taxes will almost always be a part of your life. You
Yeah.
don't have to be an expert. You just have to know basics and then hire a really good accountant that's going to
Mhm.
strategize with you. And strategize doesn't just mean here's how to save money. Strategize means at tax time, someone like me comes in and says, all right, Kathy, I see your expenses. Do you have any mileage? Did you drive your vehicle anywhere business related? You do? What do you think that number is? And I'm going to put that in. I'm going to ask, did you spend any money on marketing? Did you spend any money here? I'm going to ask you those questions and you're going to give me those answers so we can lower what's called your tax liability. So, what you are going to owe based on what money you spent in your business. But if you don't have a good accountant, they're not going to know, they're not going to ask those questions. So it really can make a big difference with who you work with.
Yeah, and working with an accountant in general, is it really pricey? I guess a lot of business owners or individuals actually feel like accountants are so out of reach that you wouldn't even want to hire one in the very beginning. So is
Yeah.
it very pricey or you can, find something within the range? How does that even work with pricing?
So I will say accountants vary. They if depending on how often you're working with them, depending on where you are. So I know my services, I've done a lot of market research to see what other people in my industry are charging. It is all over the place. I will say it shouldn't feel out of reach because if you're in a place that you need an accountant, find an accountant that will meet you where you are. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to compromise and you're hiring Better Call Saul in the accountant type of way. You can find a good accountant for something that works for you. It doesn't have to be, well, now I'm going to this weird place that I like lock my doors as soon as I get in my car. Like it doesn't have to be all that. It can be, a pretty good situation, I promise. And so for us, if we are working with individuals that maybe we're just working on their personal taxes. Most of the time I'm talking to them 2 to 3 times a year, and then I'm filing their return because I'm asking them, hey, has anything changed? Do you have a new job? Do you have the same job? I know you guys were going to have a baby. So did you have that baby? Because that changes your taxes. And then at tax time, solid rate, same rate every year. They know what to expect. Now, if it's a business, it does change because sometimes that means we're working together quarterly. So every few months, I'm printing out a little voucher for them, and this is their estimated taxes. So it's, hey, based on what you made last year, we're estimating this is what you're going to owe this year. I'm printing this little sheet out so they can pay it when they want. They can write the check. The IRS is not expecting you to pay estimated taxes because it's a surprise to them. It's estimated. It's saying, hey, I made some money. I want to be responsible. Get ahead of this. Here's my money for taxes. So it looks a little different. And when we print out those little estimated vouchers for taxes for a business, we are asking, did you make more money or did you make less money? And we're adjusting that as we go. So if someone's working with us monthly, this means we're doing their bookkeeping, which is their day-to-day transactions and things of that nature. Sometimes it costs a little more because we're putting more touches into your book. So our packages are all over the place. Thankfully, I have gotten out of a lot of the pricing because I price with my heart, and it's kind of hard to like run a business and earn money when you
Mhm.
do a lot of pro bono.
Yeah.
So my CFO does a lot of the pricing, but there is no package that is the same. Only because we really do want to serve customers and not sell them something they don't need.
Yeah,
So
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for even sharing that because it is tough running a business, but then you run with your heart. I get it. I'm the same way. And
yeah.
I love how you work with people. And can you work in different states and help people in different states and not just yours? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we can work in really any state in the United States. We can file for anyone. It's really just learning where they are and what they need. We have such a good I'll say referral network that if I feel like someone lives in California, I
Hmm.
work with a tax person that is from Silicon Valley. And so I know she was born and raised there. She knows everything about that place. I'm going to send them to her. She also has similar values that align with me when it comes to customer service. So I know if I am not super familiar with a tax code in an area, I have people in place that I have vetted. I know how they work. I know how they treat customers, and I also know their pricing. So I'm not going to send someone and say, "Well, I could help you and it would be an affordable rate. However, I'm going to send you to this girl and she's going to charge you double, but it's going to be fine." Like that's not what we're going to do. We're going to make sure it aligns all around.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So, how do people find you more or like want to work with you or even just get a consultation? How can people find more about you?
Yeah, I have learned the power of delegation and outsourcing in my own business. And I say that because I have a very rock solid, rock star assistant who set up a beautiful website. I am not tech savvy at all. If someone tells me their computer's not working, I'm like, oh, did you try turning it off and on? And that's as far as I can go. But she set up a beautiful website. It's Chamberlain and Good Company.com. There's a lot of information about the company on there, but there's also a contact us form. You can fill that out. All of those contact forms come to me directly, and we can send you a calendar link. We can set something up there. We're also on social media. Again, my assistant is amazing. And she does a lot of our posting, and it's so beautiful. I'm so proud of her. So you can find us on Facebook, Chamberlain and Good Company business page. Also, reach out to me, be my friend on there too, so I can see what everyone's doing. I am nosy, so I like to see what people are doing. Instagram, we have Chamberlain Good Co. and LinkedIn. You can just find us on there as well.
Perfect. I'll put all of your links in the show notes below so people can
Yeah.
actually find it easier. But do you have any last words before we end this podcast episode? It was so informative and amazing. And man, I just feel like I could talk to you for days.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So I love that. I'm going to actually use a phrase that you said before we started recording, and that really hit my heart. And you said, if you have a feeling that you should do something, then do it, because I'm really gonna hold on to that, and I'm gonna share it with your listeners. And I know how scary starting your own business can be, or even changing habits, changing lifestyle habits. It's scary, it's intimidating, but if you have a feeling that you should do something, then just do it. And I'm going to put a little hype in Kathy.
thank you so much. Yes. And so if for all the listeners, before we started recording, I told Ashley, I was like, dude, you should totally start your own podcast. You have so much good nuggets to share, and you're such a great speaker, and you're just, such a light to this world. And she's like, I've been thinking about it, but nah. And then I was like, no, just do it. And so she said that quote, and I was like, oh, thank you for ending it. We started with that, and now we're ending it. So love it so
Yes.
much. But yes, thank you again for your time and all your amazing knowledge. And I'm just so honored to have you share all of this with me today. So thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure to finally chat with you.
I know. All right, bye.